We are kicking off day 2. This is a very favorite session because one, it's a hot topic, right? We're all here to talk about AI, but I'll say this, AI can feel very detached, unapproachable, but I feel like when you hear from practitioners, when you bring people here who are actually going to show you what's working, how they did it, and how you can do it too, that's what makes this place special. And the fact that any Canadians in the house? Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Well, you've got one of your own all the way from Nova Scotia, annoyingly 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time, and here for the first time on Traffic Conversion Stage. Can we get some energy? Can we get up and be able to welcome to the stage Ross Simmonds? That smoke? Appreciate
it. Awesome. Hieroglyphics, newspapers, social media content, tweets, YouTube videos, all of these things are content. And it's content that we have consumed over time as a species in general. And unfortunately, I have to tell everybody something that they probably don't want to hear. A lot of the content that we've been consuming, a lot of the stories that we've read, that we've heard, has been nothing but lies. We've all been lied to. Let me take you back into time to one of the first lies that might be a little bit of trauma, but it still is carrying with me even to this day. For so many years, I was told that if you swallowed bubble gum, it would sit in your stomach for the rest of your life, and you weren't allowed to swallow it. It completely haunted me for many years of this fear that, if it slips down my throat and it gets in my stomach, I'm going to have to go to the hospital and they're going to have to pump my stomach. It was a lie. Completely baloney. You want to know what else was a lie? The idea that if you drive around with your dome light on, the police will arrest you. It doesn't happen. It does not happen. And this is real. I didn't realize this was a lie until probably 3 years ago. My daughter was sitting in the back of the car. We got this new van. She's pressing the light. I'm like, girl, you better stop turning on that light, because if you want your dad to be around, then you need to turn this thing off. It was a lie. It's not actually a thing. I had to go home and Google it, and I found out that it's not a lie. But you want to know one of the biggest lies that are happening right now in this industry across the board? It's this idea that AI content can't work. That if you create content with AI, you are in many ways cheating the system, and you are creating content that's bad for the internet, content that people don't actually want. Nonsense. It's completely baloney. A lot of people still to this day, even though there's case studies, which I'm going to share with you today, around people and brands that are using AI to generate millions of dollars worth of traffic, millions of dollars worth of revenue, my goal today is simple: to help you understand the state of AI, how it's impacting our world, our market, and our industry, and how you can use it to be better, more efficient, and get better results, not only for yourself, but also maybe for your clients. Today, I want to encourage you one simple idea: to challenge any beliefs that you have around AI. If you think that AI can't show up in your work because it's too niche, it's too specialized, I want to challenge that today. Quickly, show of hands. How many of you think AI could take your job someday? Cool, a lot of non-believers. My goal today is simple. I want to see more hands go up. All right, let's get into it. I want to take you to one of my favorite examples of a brand that has leveraged AI to generate millions of dollars worth of traffic. It's a company called CNET. If you're familiar with CNET, they write content all the time. They're a major media publisher, and they create tons and tons of content. In January 2023, they started to publish content on the back of AI. They were taking a bunch of different keywords that they wanted to rank for. They were uploading them to AI tools like Jasper and ChatGPT, and they were writing tons and tons of content. Now, in the industry, everyone says if you're creating content that is on money topics or sensitive topics like health or money, you're probably going to fail. CNET went all in. They said, forget it, we're trying it anyway. They started to publish this content, and they started to have errors left, right, and center. Their blog was filled with errors, with issues, with problems. They got completely destroyed online. All of the marketers were clapping, yay, humans, we're going to have jobs forever. All the SEOs were saying, hey, look, they did this, and it's a failure. It's a mess. It didn't work. Well, me personally, I like to not let feelings overcome facts, and I wanted to actually do some research to see, all right, so the internet is mad, but how does their bank account look? What is the actual ROI on this? So I wanted to be a little bit like Sherlock Holmes. I like to call myself Sherlock Homeboy. And I was like, all right, let's do some research. Let's figure out what actually went on behind the hood. So I took all of those AI articles that CNET had done, and I took them and I started to analyze the actual amount of organic traffic that they were generating to those pieces. What were the results? They were generating 5.1 million annual visits to AI-driven content. That content generated 2,400 backlinks from top sites around the world, people linking to content that took them probably 10 to 15 minutes to create because they used AI to create it, and they were generating real results on the back of it. If you paid in PPC the amount of traffic that they acquired, if you paid via PPC for that, you would have to spend $1.3 million every single month to capture that amount of traffic. And they did it on the back of organic content using AI. That's the power of this technology. My goal today is simple. I want to share with you some methodologies and strategies that you can use to do this type of work, to unlock these types of things. I believe that AI is doing to white-collar jobs what robotics has already done to so many jobs in the wonderful world of blue-collar work, right? And I think it's important that all of us recognize that we are going through, everybody has heard this line a million times, unprecedented times, right? It is complete chaos in the marketing world. When you look at different platforms and the constant shifts that are happening with algorithms, you see X, if you're not willing to pay to play, you're getting your reach throttled on LinkedIn. You're seeing reach throttled across all pages. You have to be a profile. On Reddit, there was a massive apocalypse where they started to shut down subreddits because the mods were against the network. It was complete chaos. You look at Google, and it's now a destination. Google used to be all of our favorite friends. It sent us tons and tons of traffic. But amidst Google Bard, amongst their entire SERP completely transforming, where if I want to go to Google and type in what book should I read if I'm in marketing, guess what? I no longer have to click on a link to get that answer. I can get that answer directly in the SERP. In addition to that, we've got ChatGPT, where we've got a whole bunch of people who are constantly looking at whether or not they need to actually hire someone because ChatGPT can do something faster than they can, and they don't take a break at lunchtime, right? Combine that with the fact that budgets are getting cut, and there's no question that we have a whole bunch of brands that have like Barbie, that want Barbie budgets with Ken budgets, and it's like, it's complete chaos, right? It's completely chaos. Job descriptions for marketers today are wild. They're looking for people who have backgrounds in PPC and SEO and influencer marketing and social media, AI, 6 years experience at 40K. Complete chaos, right? This is the world that we live in. So if you are not willing to try to challenge your own beliefs, to try to say, okay, I want to be in this industry for the next 10 years, I want to be a marketer for the next 10 years, and you're resisting, you are going down the path of the blockbusters of the past, right? So when I ask that question, how many of you think that AI will take your jobs? And a lot of people say, yeah, I don't think it can get there. Again, challenge your beliefs and open up to experimentation. A lot of people often ask, like, okay, how could it happen to me? Well, when you see AI do a Sudoku in a matter of seconds, right? When you see an AI be able to do that, you have to question and actually get a little bit more humble to say, all right, I can't do that, right? It's funny, I saw a video the other day. Anyone remember Where's Waldo? In Europe, they call them Where's Wally? So Where's Waldo, these great books, Scholastic Book Fair, one of my favorite events back in the day when I was a kid. I used to get these Where Waldo's books. I'd sit at home in my bed just looking for Waldo all day long. Now, there's an app on your phone. You hold it up. You can take a picture of the Where's Waldo page, and it will find Waldo in the matter of seconds. It's crazy. It's going to ruin my children's childhood. They're not going to have the experience that I did, right? But this is the world that we live in, folks. So I want to challenge you all to a little exercise. Let's see how good you are, humans. I'm going to show a picture. And in that picture, you're going to see a piece of some type of food, and you're going to see probably an animal. And I want you to count how many animals you see. And let's see if you could do it faster than an AI. All right. How many muffins do you see versus chihuahuas? How many bagels do you see versus dogs? How many pieces of fried chicken versus puppies? How many sloths versus pastries? I know you're hungry, but the AI wouldn't have gotten hungry, and the AI would have gotten all of those things right. That is what you are going to be up against. You can't beat the robots when it comes to even visual decisions, right? So yes, we can constantly say, oh no, we're good, I'm going to be good, but there's no question, folks, that the industry is in turmoil. We need to embrace this change. There's so much chaos happening across algorithms, across the constant change with AI. You need to recognize that last year was the time of complete chaos, and this year we have to bounce back. We have to completely bounce back and start thinking about how we can win in this new age. And my belief is that we actually have to go back to some of the fundamentals. It's actually time for us to go back to fundamentals of marketing. What does that mean? So I believe in an idea called the content growth framework, which is rooted in 4 simple ideas that are rooted in what I believe are first principles in marketing: research, creation, distribution, and optimization. If we can actually put the marketing back into content marketing, we will win. Because for the last few years, I believe truly that we've gone down a path where so many gurus have gotten on stage and screamed at the top of their lungs, content is king, write more content, the world will be yours. Everybody listened and everybody created. But the content that we created started to compete with more content that was being created. And everybody forgot that you actually have to do things with the content that you've created. You have to distribute it. It is called content marketing, but we oftentimes forget to market the content that we're creating. So by embracing this philosophy of research, creation, distribution, and optimization, you increase the likelihood that you're going to get success from your content. And my goal today is simple. I'm going to talk you through research, creation, distribution, and optimization as the framework that you need to embrace within your organization with your team to get better results from your content. But you also want to sprinkle a whole bunch of AI on top of it. So let's get tactical for a bit. We're going to dive really deep into this. I'm going to share some tools. I'm going to share some tactics. We're going to get into it. So let's talk about research. So research is what you do before you start creating. Research is what you do before you start to go out and start writing blog posts, creating YouTube videos. You start sending out posts on Facebook, writing content assets, creating anything. You need to do research. And some of those forms of research could be keyword research, it could be social research, you could be going into a community and doing research. You can do all of these things. But AI presents you with an amazing opportunity to do that research faster. Now with ChatGPT, you have ChatGPT-4 with plugins where you can actually ask it to review a link, even if it's a Google Drive folder or a Google Doc. You can upload it and share that link with ChatGPT. You can use a plugin reader that is called Link Reader, which will read any URL. If you use native ChatGPT, it will sometimes tell you that it can't do it. That's one of the benefits of being a good arguer. You can kind of argue with ChatGPT and say, I know you can do this, just do it. And sometimes it'll work. That's a pro tip. Also, always say please and thank you to your AI. If they come back one day, you don't want them to come and get you. That just might be the Canadian in me, but I don't know. Anyways, you can ask ChatGPT to read an article and then say, I want you to give me some context around whether or not this is an investment I should actually make. Same thing works in marketing. You can give it a report and ask it to analyze it. ChatGPT comes back within the matter of seconds. It has reviewed that investor's report from Salesforce, and it is giving me insight around whether or not this is a valuable investment for me. If you go to a tool like Moz or Ahrefs or one of these tools, and you take your report, you can actually upload that directly into ChatGPT. And you can say, ChatGPT, personally, I ain't got no time to go through this report, so can you do it for me? It's going to review that report. It's going to cross-reference it across any type of insight that you want and say, hey, how are we doing based off of this report? It's now going to give you that answer in the matter of seconds. You didn't need to reach out to one of your analysts. You didn't need to reach out to a partner. You didn't need to reach out to an intern. You didn't have to wait for somebody to get back to you on Slack. You can get that done in the matter of seconds now, right? Whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's a PDF, you can upload this content directly to ChatGPT, have it operate as your analyst, and get answers directly from it. One of my other pro tips, and it's not in the slides, but I want to give this one to you as well, is playing role play with ChatGPT. You want to ask ChatGPT to pretend that it's someone else. So I will always say, hey, ChatGPT, pretend that you're an analyst that works for McKinsey, you're an analyst that works for Deloitte, whatever. Now review this report and give me a report. It then goes into its database, understands the context of what that type of analyst would want, and it reviews it from that perspective. This is how you can improve your research function. This is how you can do better research. Challenge your beliefs and embrace experimentation. The second step in that process, is creation. So when it comes to creation, this is where a lot of people focus with ChatGPT and AI tools. And I think it's a good use of time. I think a lot of times in the industry, this is where there's a lot of pushback, but as you saw with that CNET example, the opportunities here can be very real. And some people will say, oh, Ross, but is Google going to get mad at me? Is Google going to dislike this? Here's what Google actually had to say about AI-driven content. It said, if this content uses AI, we pretty much don't care as long as the content is valuable to our readers. Is it obvious, though, that this was created by AI? If so, you might want to consider disclosing that. Are you explaining why AI was used in this process? You don't necessarily need to tell the reader, but if it's very blatant, you might want to. But we don't really care too much as long as it's still valuable. That's essentially their MO. They said, ask yourself, does the content provide original information, reporting, research, or analysis? Right? Like this is directly out of Google's actual rating guidelines where they talk about what they believe is to be true on AI. Right? So at the end of the day, what it comes down to is whether or not you're using AI to still create valuable content. That is the starting point. If you're not creating valuable content, then what are you doing? Like at the end of the day, as content marketers, if that's your world, if you are a content creator and you're not creating good content, you're not doing your job. That's like going out and saying, oh, I'm a good dad, I raised my kids. You're supposed to do that. If you create good content, you're supposed to do that. You don't get brownie points for creating good content. That's what you're supposed to do, right? So I wanted to dive into a few other companies that were using AI to better understand. And I wanted to analyze and see like how much traffic are they actually creating. There's a site called Bankrate. Again, talking about a very sensitive topic, talking about things like credit scores, talking about loans. And they used AI to create a ton of content. And the traffic that they're generating on the back of their AI content, 7.2 million visits, right? The total value is over $29 million. So I found this similar to CNET, and I took all of these articles, and I said, it's time for me to, again, embrace my Sherlock Homeboy approach and start to reverse engineer what went into creating these pieces of content that allow them to drive value while still being created with AI. So I went in and I was like, all right, I need to study this. I need to look at these pieces and break down what it is that's differentiating them from the rest that is allowing them to rank. And it became pretty simple. It became very clear to see that there are 6 simple things that you need to incorporate in every AI-driven piece if you want it to still rank. 1, you have to have high editorial standards. What does that mean? It means that the content needs to actually be very valuable. You need to actually ensure that the content is written by an expert or reviewed by an expert. You want to have multimedia asset. Google loves content that is not just text. So if you can incorporate charts, graphics, infographics, videos, etc., it can elevate your content even further. Double E. If you're not familiar with this acronym, Google it. I'm sure I have some stuff out there on this topic. You can check it out on my site. But double E stands for expertise, experience, authority, and trust. And Google wants to be able to review your content and ensure that you have that. How do you make that happen? By making sure that in the first few paragraphs, you're actually referencing a highly qualified study or source in your piece of content. It wants it to read like a human, obviously. You want to have internal linking, so it's linking to other assets that you've created. And then you might, all of these sites did, you might want to have some disclosure that the content was created with AI or augmented with AI. Now, here's one thing that I also recommend, that for every single piece that you create with AI, that it is not written by digital marketer or some random name that is not a real human. You put a human's name behind it. And that human's name that is behind that author actually has an author page on your website. So when Google scrapes that content and they're looking at it, it will also look at the author's name and they'll be able to see, oh, this is from Ross Simmonds. He went to St. Mary's University. He has a degree in marketing, blah, 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 and they can study that. because that further improves your likelihood of being seen as a trustworthy source. Amidst all of this, though, folks, again, I want to reiterate the basics. When you are creating content, before you start thinking about double eat and all that stuff, to hit that first editorial standards piece and to hit the values piece, I encourage you to remember this concept called the 4 E's. Educate, engage, entertain, and empower. Over my career, I have never seen a piece of content do well on the internet that doesn't do one of these 4 things. And if you're creating pieces of content that doesn't fall into one of these categories, you're probably creating a piece of content that's only going to get a like from your mom and your buddy Matt. It's personal experience, right? Like, it's not going to go well. So create content that is educational, engaging, entertaining, or empowering. What does this mean? When we're talking about educational content, you're creating content for your audience that teaches them how to do something. Provide them with information that they didn't have before, but that they are looking for and thriving and wanting to receive. Engaging content. Create content that stirs up a bit of a dialogue, stirs up a conversation. Entertaining content. Put a smile on someone's face. And then empowering content. This is content that makes people feel good. If you can do that, you can win. We created, based off of all of the rise of AI at Foundation, we created a checklist. And this checklist breaks down all of the things that we require our editors to do when they are reviewing a piece of content that was developed by AI. We created tons of pieces over the last year, over like 200, 300 pieces just on our own site. For clients, it's in the thousands of pieces on the back of AI. And when we do it, we need this checklist to ensure that we're meeting our standards to increase the likelihood that we're going to rank. I created this piece, the ultimate guide to SaaS pricing in 2023. We work with SaaS companies, some of the largest SaaS companies in the world, on running their content marketing engines. We create their blog posts, we write social content, we do creation, essentially this framework. So when I created this, my goal was simple. I need to find SaaS founders and get SaaS founders to read this piece and think it's ridiculously valuable. So I used AI to create this asset. We then press publish. Typically, most marketers would pop the bubbly and say, congratulations, but we believe in distribution, so we started to amplify that piece across the web. It got picked up by a company called Indie Hackers, which is a community that is filled with a bunch of people trying to start their own SaaS companies or other types of small businesses. They took this blog post, they republished it, and it took off. It took me less than 2 hours to create this piece. I think it's 5,000 words. But because I used AI in that checklist, we were able to create something that was content excellence. And the internet loved it. We were able to generate on this one piece alone, again, I think it took me like 2 hours to create. We were able to get a lead from this piece that was worth $60K. And in the matter of like probably 4 days, we were able to see ourselves rank on the first page for SaaS pricing, right? All from using AI in that checklist. If you want that checklist, we have it available for free. You don't need to pay for it. It's completely online. You can download it. We also go a little bit more in depth, breaking down what's in it at b2bgrowth.com/AI. We also did some research where we looked at the top 400 SaaS companies where we wanted to figure out like what differentiates them, those who are generating the most organic traffic from those that are not. And I know some of you are not in the SaaS space and that's okay, but I think the methodology and the idea can transcend across all spaces. There was a clear insight that the companies that write the most blog posts generate the most traffic. Crazy. It makes sense though. You're essentially giving yourself more times at the bat where you have an opportunity to generate traffic. So when we did this, I was like, all right, these companies are creating hundreds of pieces every single year, sometimes hundreds of pieces every month. How do you win when you're a small business against these big giants? I was like, can we use AI to do that? So we went into AI and I was like, all right, ChatGPT, let me start with this. I'm going to go to one of my favorite keyword tools and I'm going to do an export. I'm going to pretend that I am running a website dedicated to sneakers. So I went to my SEO tool and I was like, all right, I want to write a blog on sneakers, so I just wrote sneakers as the keyword, and it gave me this spreadsheet that told me all of the top keywords that people were typing into Google to find things out about sneakers. So I took that spreadsheet and I uploaded it to ChatGPT. I said, ChatGPT, review this spreadsheet and give me a list of 30 content topics that would be worth creating. ChatGPT then gave that back to me, and I told it to make a spreadsheet. I was like, hey, ChatGPT, can you make me a spreadsheet with this list of content topic ideas that I can use? I said, thank you, that's perfect, my friend. Again, as I mentioned, you always want to be nice to your AIs. From there, I then said, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to do this somewhere else. So I went to this tool called copy.ai. And in copy.ai, you can create a workflow where you get to define what you want your inputs to be and what you want the outputs to be. So I got this tool in particular to take my spreadsheet as an input, which now has all of the topic ideas. I then told it that I wanted to create subtopics for these ideas, meaning I want you to figure out what headers could go underneath this to make it a little bit more engaging. I then want you to go out and find data sources that would allow this to be a little bit more authoritative. So go out into the internet and find people who have created pieces on this topic that are much more in-depth and have experience on sneakers. Then come up with a few story ideas that I would find valuable, create a content outline, and then fill in that outline. The same way that you would brief a writer, you brief your AI. So it goes out and it starts to do these things. I give it a prompt that is preset that says the content topic I want to write is, they grab that directly from my spreadsheet. Please start making these newsworthy story ideas and bringing them to life. I say write these blog posts. It then takes the case study outline that it developed on its own and it starts to use it. Note how you also have the ability to tell it that you are a blog writer who creates content like the company Wait But Why. If you haven't read the Wait But Why blog, it's great. They're data-driven, cool blog. So I told it to do it. In a matter of minutes, I was able to get hundreds of pieces of content written on this topic in 5 minutes. So you might think, okay, Ross, but is it good content? It was not too bad. So I took these pieces, I then took them and copied and pasted them into a Google Doc. 3 minutes, I kept my receipts to show you, like it's directly in Google Docs. You can see the timestamps on this. 3 minutes, I copied and pasted the full blog post. I then went over to Midjourney and I was like, hey, Midjourney, I need this picture. Can you create that for me? Midjourney was able to give me these images, and in the matter of seconds, I was able to create, in the matter of minutes, I was able to create an in-depth blog post on a topic that I know nothing about and just bring it to life, right? Hundreds of articles in the matter of a few days is now possible on the back of AI. I again encourage you to challenge your beliefs and embrace experimentation. Does anyone remember when Burger King came up with this disgusting ad? Anyone? So they were trying to poke fun at McDonald's where their burgers don't get moldy. And they were like, we're going to show a moldy burger and show people like our burgers get moldy. This is why you should buy our burgers, right? It looks disgusting, right? That's not the ad. Kind of looks like it, but it's not. I created that image using Midjourney. So instead of having to actually hire a photographer, instead of actually going out and hiring a creative team to create that image, I can now create a moldy burger using Midjourney in the matter of seconds. So some of you might think, that burger looks ugly. I could tell it's not real. I hear that's not real. It doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Here's the reality, folks. Right now, as we're here, there are actual movies being produced and raising tons of money on sites like Kickstarter that are created and developed completely with AI. This movie called Number One turned into a script that was created using Midjourney, and then they raised over $20,000 to bring this movie to life on the back of Midjourney and ChatGPT. There are comic books that are selling hundreds of thousands of copies that are built on the back of Midjourney. There are board games today on Kickstarter. I believe the number one board game last year on Kickstarter, all of the graphics, or at least like 80% of them, were built using Midjourney and ChatGPT. This is the world we live in. So when your creative team gets precious about this idea, remember, this is the world we live in. Facts over feelings. All right, let's talk about distribution. You've created all this great content. You've got some great assets that you've invested in. How else can you amplify and promote these pieces? One of my favorite things to use ChatGPT for is to actually leverage, not ChatGPT, but to use AI for, is this tool called summarize.tech, where you're able, I have a podcast, it's called Create Like the Greats, where we talk to people who are creating great things. You can upload your podcast to this AI tool. It will listen to the entire podcast, and in the matter of seconds, it will develop not only the transcription, but it will identify what it calls like money moments. So money moments are the most important moments within that podcast where you're talking about very interesting things. It will summarize them for you. You now can take those and ask it to turn those into essentially an email that you can send out to your newsletter, right? All in the matter of seconds on the back of these AI tools. A lot of people think, okay, we've created this content and it's not getting results. Oftentimes it's not getting results because the sample size that you put your content out to was too small. You have to be willing to turn this content into more content. You take that blog post, you turn it into a thread. You take that webinar and you turn it into social clips. You turn those social clips into text posts that go on a carousel. Whatever it might be, you need to repurpose your content. You need to spread your content, and AI helps make that possible. Where you can take that 20-minute video that you've created with a human, and then you can upload it directly to a tool like Summarize and get a blog post back in the matter of seconds talking about what you discussed in that podcast. Then you can take that same blog post, turn it into a thread on X. You can then turn it into a post on LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. You can also leverage video now. So there's a tool called Runway ML that allows you to essentially take any image that you have and turn that image into a movie. I was down in Italy on the coast, and I took this picture. There was nobody in it. I don't know where this guy with this weird back came from, but I took this picture, and I uploaded it to Runway, and it tried to create this image. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I can guarantee you, come 2026, somebody's going to be on this stage talking about a full movie that was probably created on the back of AI. I would not be surprised if that happens in the next few years. So Runway takes images, like the one that I showed early on about the dome light, and it turns them into videos. This is one of my favorite use cases. The reason why I'm showing you this is because this is where things are going. Imagine a future where you're able to upload an image of yourself, and that image starts to come to life. That's not just the future, that is the reality today. For example, there's this other tool called 11 Labs. 11 Labs is probably my favorite AI tool on the market because I'm a big audio guy. I love audiobooks, and I think that entire space is going to get disrupted on the back of these tools. I've been using 11 Labs to train it on me. What does that mean? I have a podcast. I downloaded all of my podcast audio clips. I uploaded them to 11 Labs. By uploading them to 11 Labs, they start to pick up the nuances in the way that my voice sounds. It has created a deepfake of my voice and of my audio. And now, whenever I want to, I can go to this AI tool and I can write any words that I want, and it's going to say them just like I will. It might not pick up my abouts and aboots the same way that it should, but it picks up a lot of the other nuances in my voice. So, a few weeks back, I decided I was going to run an experiment. I was going to take all of my audio content, upload it to 11 Labs, and combine it with a tool called DID. DID is essentially a video tool that takes an image of me and starts to actually map any audio file to my lips. So it takes me as a human, takes that photo, it analyzes my face, it analyzes my motions and how I move and how I operate, and it allowed me to create a deepfake of myself. So now I have videos that have literally reached thousands of people that are me, but they're not me, talking about things that I've never actually said, but I've written down and it is saying them on my behalf, right? So what will be next? AI hosted webinars, AI sent job interviews where you actually are being interviewed by somebody, but it's not actually a somebody, or maybe you're getting AI-assisted legal consults, or you're seeing influencers. This is already happening on TikTok where there's a ton of fake influencers. There's actually an influencer on Instagram that isn't a real human, but she has over 200,000 followers, and brands are sponsoring the company who runs her account to show their product in her AI content, right? This is the world that we live in today. Facts over feelings. At the end of the day, folks, challenge your beliefs and embrace experimentation. This is the world that we live in, and it's going to continue to evolve and change. Distribution at the forefront of all of this content creation work needs to be considered all the time. When I was tinkering, I decided, all right, how do I fill up my social account with a bunch of content relatively quickly? So I go to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, ChatGPT, over the last 10 years, I've sent out tweets like this. These are all of the tweets that I've shared that got a lot of engagement about the best marketers. So I sent them to ChatGPT. I was like, come up with 10 other ones or 75 other ones that I can reshare. So it came up with 75 other ones. I said, ChatGPT, turn this into a spreadsheet. I turned it into a spreadsheet. I downloaded that spreadsheet, and then I uploaded that directly into Canva. So I uploaded it into Canva. I used the variable tags within Canva to ensure that it's connected to the spreadsheet. In the matter of seconds, Canva, now hooked up to my spreadsheet, takes those 75 quotes and it turns them into social media graphics. I love Mad Men. I wanted to originally create something that looked like Mad Men. I asked Midjourney to create that for me. I said, hey, Midjourney, this is something that I liked. Can you show me what I could do to create an image like this? So in Midjourney today, you're able to upload an image and ask it to describe what it sees. So I asked it to describe this, and it gave me a few ideas. I was like, cool, let me run a test with what you've described. Came back with a pretty good result. I was like, I want somebody with a little bit of melanin. I said, Midjourney, do that for me. It did it in the matter of seconds. It's like, make one that looks like my sister. They did it. All in the matter of seconds. And then I uploaded all of these images to Canva. In the matter of seconds, I had all of this content created, 20 minutes worth of time. I got 30 new followers on the back of just skewing this up. And this took me 20 minutes to do. You can give this work to probably anyone on your team, and they can tackle that effort for you. But Ross, is it quality content? It's not going to actually work. It's not going to work for me. I've got more. There's this site, this YouTube account called Daily Facts Worth, where they have over 230,000 subscribers, where every day all they're doing is uploading videos that are using a Canva loop with those webhooks, taking content from ChatGPT with a daily fact that are probably not even always real, uploading them to ChatGPT, and they're getting tons of views, tons of subscribers. There's another one that dedicates its entire account to history. I'm a big history guy. I love history and going back into time. I'm not a big Roman Empire guy, so I didn't get that meme as much, but I get the context. So I was following this account, Khan's Den, and they talk about like Genghis Khan and all of his history. These videos are like 30 minutes long, sometimes an hour long, and it's all AI. The voice that you hear is a voice from something like 11 Labs that happens to use one of those deep voices that you see in the movies, right? And then they have visuals behind it that are all created through Midjourney, and people love it. Challenge your beliefs and embrace experimentation. At the end of all of that, you've created a bunch of good content, you've distributed it, you're getting some results, but time goes on. And one of the biggest mistakes that marketers make is that they create a bunch of great things and then they never go back and look at them. They let the content collect dust. You have to embrace optimization, where you're going back and you're looking at that content and optimizing it for conversion, you're optimizing it for on-site SEO, for just data updates, all of those different things. So how do you use AI to improve that? Well, first of all, you want to always embrace that checklist that I shared with you guys earlier. You want to go through that checklist constantly and ensure that you're constantly updating your content to reflect the best practices for what content should look like. But you can also send it off to ChatGPT. And you can install a few plugins. There's an SEO plugin. There's a plugin that is dedicated to reading links, like I mentioned. And you can say, read this piece and make a few SEO recommendations for me. And in the matter of seconds, you'll get an answer back. It's going to start to scrape the website, look at it, read it, analyze it, and it will say, you forgot to include a meta description on that piece. It's a basic one, but if click-through rates matter in the SERP, then it should have been updated and caught, but now I've got it. And it took me seconds to get that response from ChatGPT. But let's take this a little bit further. I talked about earlier how important it is to have content that is multimedia as well. So instead of just saying, ChatGPT, I want you to create this piece, you can even say, ChatGPT, I want you to review this article in depth and make a visual. And because ChatGPT 4 now can create graphics, you can use DALL-E to develop them. There's another plugin called Whimsical that will do this for you, and it will create a graph that you can then embed into that content and make your piece of content 10 times better, right? Embrace this framework, folks. Research, creation, distribution, and optimization. When you embrace these ideas, when you embrace this philosophy of research, creation, distribution, and optimization, it changes everything. It takes you from a state where you're already being met with a ton of chaos in the industry to a state where you're able to find some gold nuggets, where you're able to find some quick wins. And the worst thing that could happen is that right now you hear this presentation, you've taken some good notes, you've taken a bunch of photos, and you're like, all right, we need to use AI. We need to use ChatGPT more. We need to use these things more. And you do it for, let's say, a week, but you don't get the results. And then you start to say, this thing doesn't work for me. And that's it, right? That happens more times than I would like to see. People experiment for a week and think that that is a large enough time to get the results that they want. You need to be committed if you want to be around in the next 10, 15, 20 years, depending on where you are. Some of you might be ready for retirement in a 2-year span. If that's you, just do your thing and retire happy, right? But if you want to be around for a while, then you need to embrace AI. You need to run your own experiments. Just because an experiment works for me doesn't mean it's going to necessarily work for you. That's why I try to show a ton of different experiments, because I hope that you can find one. Because just one breakthrough in AI could fundamentally change the way that you do your business. And I encourage you all to just imagine what a world of new creation looks like for you and your brand, right? Maybe you leverage a tool like Moz or Stat to get data, right? You use these tools to better understand where do we rank today versus our competitors, right? Then you use ChatGPT to analyze the data that these tools might be getting from you. Maybe you are using these tools and you're like, I don't really know what these tools are telling me. I don't know anything about keyword research. I don't know anything about position in the SERP. I don't even know what a SERP means. Cool. You don't have to. ChatGPT does. So you take that info, you upload it to ChatGPT, and you ask it to make it easy for you to understand and tell you what to do. And then you start to turn those into workflow ideas. You start to create that content. You can use a tool like Jasper to create the content directly in a Word doc. Jasper has a plugin where you can actually use this plugin into your Chrome browser when you're in Google Docs and say, finish this sentence, and it will do it, right? A lot of people are like, oh, that's so cheating, that's cheating. Well, y'all have had spell check for a very long time, and nobody complained about that. It's the same thing, right? It's all the same. Embrace these tools. Use that elevation checklist I shared with you to improve, and you will be amazed by how fast you can get at producing content that actually shapes culture and content that is actually valuable. I believe it was about 1.5 years ago when I first gave a public presentation on AI. No, it wasn't right. I gave my first presentation on AI back in like 2016. But I gave a presentation on workflows for AI just 1.5 years ago. And you can find this online. There's a Whiteboard Friday that I created with Moz where I talk about how all of us should be thinking about adjusting and changing our workflows in our content. This is where the future lives. This is where the future lies, right? And I encourage all of you to think about that when you are creating your own content engines and you are creating content that drives results for your business. And at the end of all of this, my simple and last goal is that over the course of today's presentation, over the course of all of the presentations that you've heard, and you've heard people talk about AI, that something that you hear will stick with you like bubble gum. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let's see if this works. It might work. Wait, I didn't know if this would work. Is there any audio?
Editors might have me say something like, SEO is dead, or Google is allowed to plagiarize, but no one else is. Or even AI is going to take all of our jobs, and this is the end of the road. You see, I would never say these things. Definitely not on a public stage. Folks, this is a dangerous time. We need to be more diligent in what we trust on the internet. So how we move forward in the age of artificial intelligence is going to be important. It's going to be key for our industry. Better yet, humanity. Thank you all. See you on the internet.
Awesome. I didn't know that would work. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you.